Uh, I would say I'm frustrated. That's definitely the word I'd use. But I'll just say, like, I said this. I had the Raptors winning this game coming into it. I personally did not expect the Bulls to win this one because the Raptors are a better team. But it just, I think the way the Bulls lost this one has me like really upset. And it's not just how the players played, it's just some of these coaching decisions, man. I'm losing my mind, honestly. I am legit losing my mind with some of these coaching decisions. Here's what I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna defend the players here because what I don't like seeing a lot on Twitter is like, wow, the Bulls are getting so outworked in this one. Look how many offensive rebounds they're giving up, etc., etc. That the Raptors are just out hustling the Bulls, which I just don't think that's the case. I think this Bulls team was fighting hard for every single rebound, every single possession. I legit think that this Bulls team was hustling and they were doing a lot this game. This Bulls team was flat out giving it 110% this game. But we can't be just like, oh, this is on the players suddenly because they couldn't get these offensive rebounds. Like, this Bulls team, they had 6 steals, they had 7 blocks. Like, that shows hustle, okay? It's not like this Bulls team just wasn't trying out there when it comes to all the hustle stats. It's just the lack of size with this team. The lack of size against this entirely big Raptors team is just gonna kill you at the end. Scotty Barnes at 6'7" at 4 offensive rebounds. We had Pascal Siakam at 3. OG Anunoby at 3. Like, this is what's gonna kill you at the end of the day. The Raptors had 19 offensive rebounds. And the biggest difference in this game, right, was the offensive rebounds. I personally don't think the turnovers have much of a difference. You can argue with me about that, but I did put turnovers in the title because the Bulls did turn over 19 times. But to me, the biggest thing is this, right? This is the big issue, right? And the Raptors had 11 turnovers compared to the Bulls 19, so there was an 8 turnover difference there. But the Raptors weren't necessarily like getting points off those turnovers until like the second half, right? And that's where I think everything was falling apart for the Bulls. And it wasn't even that big of a difference. As it ends up being a 6-point game, I thought the Bulls, again, defensively, this Bulls team was working hard. But when you're so undersized and you have a coach that is out there seeing this and deciding, hey, we're going to run Alex Caruso and Patrick Beverley out there and be having them guard OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes, you're going to lose the rebounding battle. And you very much lost this rebounding battle by a wide margin, specifically the offensive rebound. So it overall just sucks. This Bulls team made 37 shots. The Raptors made 38. The Bulls had 71 shot attempts compared to the Raptors 94. That's the difference, right? The difference is because the offensive rebounds and then also the turnover difference, right? That's the extra shots for this Raptors team that they got from this Bulls team. So, yeah, really sucks at the end. And unfortunately, if you're the Bulls, if you're going to give up all these offensive rebounds, if you're going to play small, and you're going to play this up-tempo style that Billy Donovan wants, then you got to hit the threes, right? You got to be shooting threes, and you got to be draining threes. And yet again, this Bulls team continues to not shoot threes. They shot 25 in this game. Raptors shot 42. Bulls shot 40%. Raptors shot 35%. Doesn't really make much sense to me. And I look at the shot chart difference, and it's staggering, right? It's just these mid-range areas right here. Raptors, you just see all these shots in the paint. Look at how many threes they attempted. Big difference, man. It is what it is at the end of the day. And I don't understand what Billy Donovan's thinking. Throughout a lot of this game, and then at the end of the game. It made no sense to me whatsoever. So, take it as you want. Man, I've been really critical of the players this entire season, right? I feel like I've criticized each individual player a lot. The Bulls' effort was there tonight. I actually would argue that the Bulls, their effort was almost on par with the Raptors' effort, right? It's not like the Bulls were getting out hustled. This Bulls team was constantly doing, like, making the extra rotation. They were there on every single closeout except for like a Chris Boucher 3 that came off an offensive rebound in the fourth quarter. Like, the Bulls were contesting every single shot. They were fighting for every single rebound. But at the end of the day, when you're outsized by at least 6 inches at every position, you're going to get screwed. And that's what happened tonight. And it truly does suck that this is what happened. So, I'm annoyed. I'm just truly annoyed seeing this. Because I think if it just came down to better coaching decisions, then we're not in this position at the end. I don't think the Bulls really played that amazing, right? Especially offensively, the Bulls continued to struggle. But defensively, I thought they were playing fantastic. And unfortunately, because you're playing such good defense, you can't close out the possession, and it kills your team at the end of the day. So tough loss. Billy Donovan is such an absolute fraud. They shot 23 more shots than us, playing such a long team like the Raptors. The 4-guard lineup, 3 of them can't shoot the 3. Is asking to get analyzed. Yep, for sure. Why are we playing small ball against a big team? Billy's dumb for that. Yeah, go ask Billy Donovan that question, honestly. I want to know the answer to that as well. We didn't attempt no 3s in the fourth quarter until the 5-minute mark. Yeah, there was an issue in the fourth with the lack of attempts from 3. Part of it is that DeMar DeRozan starts the fourth quarter, and that he's the leader of it, so he's just going to be putting it mid-range. But, yeah, I didn't like the shot selection at all. I really didn't. Here's the fourth quarter shot selection. We took a total of 4 threes in the fourth. There was 2 made threes in the corner by Vucevic and Beverly. This was a Zach LaVine missed shot, which to me, he needs to shoot more in general. But then we see the mid-range shots here that to me seemed unnecessary. Yeah, just overall bad. And then, of course, the turnovers in the fourth didn't give us enough shot attempts compared. So 18 shot attempts compared to the Raptors 23. You know, offensive rebounds are also a big part of that as well. But yeah, just bad. It's overall just bad. We can beat it tonight for sure. We gotta be able to shoot the 3s and push tempo against a big team, not isolate / throw the ball in the post and waste the entire shot clock. Yeah, there's that. I think that's part of it, right? I thought the Bulls could have also gotten some more transition opportunities, but the thing is that I think we have to understand this, guys. This Raptors team, like, I like seeing the Bulls get out in transition. This Raptors team is fantastic in transition defense. They have the lengthiest guys out there on the court. They continue, like, these guys, they're not slow. Like, just because they're lengthy does not make them slow, right? Like, I think that's kind of like the whole idea for this Bulls team. Like, if we're facing a team that has like 2 bigs out there, it's like, okay, push the ball, get out in transition and take advantage of your speed. The Bulls really don't have a speed advantage against this Raptors team, right? This Raptors team is lengthy, but they're also very mobile and they're very agile and they have speed, right? So, yeah, they should have probably pushed a little bit more in transition. I just don't think it would have mattered at the end of the day because the big issue is the giving up the offensive rebounds when you're playing such good damn defense, but you're too small to close out the possession. It's so frustrating just to watch it all unfold. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Just straight up bad. I also think this, by the way, I do think the Bulls need to isolate more. I know that seems very against the grain of what people keep saying, but the Bulls, they don't isolate, right? They're a team that is in the bottom. Excuse me, they're in like the bottom third. Last time I checked in isolation attempts per game, right? Now, here's what I will say: I don't think DeMar DeRozan's right. Okay, and he's by far the best isolation player on this Bulls team. So. Maybe if he's not right, then maybe they shouldn't isolate. Now, the thing is, though, is that in that fourth quarter, I don't think the Bulls isolated. I think it was a lot of pick and roll. I just think that guys were hesitant to shoot. We saw a play at the end where Caruso got the ball and he was basically wide open, but he did not want to take the shot, and it's in the last, minutes, right, of the quarter. Like, he has to take that shot. We saw guys just hesitant to drive it into the lane, and then the Bulls' offense suddenly gets stagnant. Because we do the initial drive, nothing works. We swing it back out. We don't have shooting, and suddenly the possession's screwed, right? Then you throw it into the post, and nothing works from there, and you move on. I don't think the Bulls posted up too much in this game. I thought more so in the first half it was pretty bad in terms of the amount of post up attempts Vucevic got. We saw, I think, very few in that fourth quarter, and so I'm not going to be too upset about it. My biggest thing, though, is just that, again, these lack of 3-point attempts in the fourth kill me. I don't know why we don't shoot 3s in the fourth. It drives me insane. I know that Zach wasn't... I I know Zach wasn't necessarily open in that fourth quarter, but this to me, it ends up being coaching again. Why aren't we running plays for Zach LaVine to come off pin downs so he can get an open 3-point look at the top of the key or at the wing, right? Like, that should be a play in the fourth quarter, but instead we're running a heavy, DeRozan and Vucevic pick and roll, right? And if that gets nowhere, then it's relying on either DeRozan or Zach to kind of figure it out. The Raptors, at the end of the day, are always going to be doubling both DeRozan and LaVine off the pick and roll. And we specifically saw in that fourth quarter where we saw the double team get put into place, right? So they're forcing the others, right, to make the shots. This is the reason why I always say, instead of running that pick and roll, how about we just isolate instead? Because if you're gonna run the pick and roll, you're bringing the second man towards DeRozan or Zach, right? That's not what we want. If we want that double team to come, then you need to isolate, because that's gonna force the Raptors defense to actually have to cover more ground. And then they're not in the right positions to recover off a double team. That's the way I would have done it, but Billy Donovan is hell-bent on running this, pick and roll offense in that fourth quarter and letting DeRozan try to figure it out. And I just think that if he's being doubled, that's not the offense, right? And if you're going to run the pick and roll, then it has to be someone else besides Vucevic that is setting the screen, right? I've gone over this before with you guys on this channel, right? If DeRozan's going to get double teamed, or if Zach's going to get double teamed off the pick and roll, okay, then either Beverly or Caruso, the two other guys on the court, have to set the screens, okay? The reason why is because then Vucevic is the guy that can be the recipient off the double team, right? If Vucevic is involved in that pick and roll, then he is the one catching it and then having to make the pass to the next guy to whoever's open, right? I would much rather have Vucevic being the scoring role than him being the passing role, especially when either DeRozan or LaVine's getting double teamed. That's the reason why this Bulls offense continues to have struggles when they're getting double teamed, is because they don't know how to get past the double team. And again, coaching. I think Billy Donovan is just completely doing this backwards, and he needs to figure it out. The other option too is that you run the DeRozan and LaVine pick and roll, right? Because then you can't double team DeRozan in that scenario. Because if you double team DeRozan, Zach's wide open. If both go to Zach, then DeRozan's wide open, right? So the two guys that are being double teamed, you run the pick and roll between those two guys. You can't double team either. You get the one-on-one matchup that you want. Those guys can take advantage of that much more easily. So, yet again, it just comes down to coaching. I know that the big thing about that everyone's always going to be looking at is, okay, Billy Donovan did not put in Patrick Williams at the end, which I called out on my Twitter, right? And I'm also pretty PO'd about it. But I also think coaching is big down the stretch, where I think Billy Donovan was not calling the right plays. I think he was calling some terrible plays down the stretch. It's the simple, pick and roll at the top, the key set. You're not running the pick and roll with the right guys. You're letting DeRozan get double teamed, and it's just not how you're supposed to run an offense in today's world. You see how the Raptors offense in that fourth quarter is still, looking for 3-point shots. They're cutting hard to the basket. They're legit jacking up threes at will. That's how it's like. Everyone thinks oh God, fourth quarter, we got to get the best shot possible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We got to slow the game down. The game slows down in general in the fourth quarter. I've always said that. But if you have a chance to get a 3-point look, you take it, because those are very rare in that fourth quarter. Again, I don't know why Billy Donovan isn't running plays for Zach to get more off-ball 3-point looks, or just off-ball looks in general in that fourth. He needs to do so, but he's not doing it, and it's resulting in some bad fourth quarter play. We saw it tonight, and then we've seen obviously bad fourth quarter play just in general with this team as they continue to blow leads, right? Caruso tried to bounce pass while the paint was packed. Bro, I know. Caruso in that play, he has to shoot the ball, right? Or he has to just throw it back out to Zach, because Vucevic wasn't wide open. DeMar wasn't open, right? If he's not going to take the shot, which I think he should have taken the shot, right? He has that floater. He can take that shot. Then he has to throw it back out to Zach. I don't know what he's doing in that scenario. And that's the reason why I'm I can't defend Caruso. With that, look, man, I know this dude's great defensively. I understand how much value he brings to the team. His net rating is the highest on this Bulls team, which I look at net rating as a very it's a very odd stat. Like, I think a lot has to do with who you play with. That's going to help your net rating, right? But it is evident that the Bulls are typically better with Caruso on the floor. And I'm fine with that being the fact. It's just, he's got to do better on offense, okay? This dude has to just make better decisions offensively. He had some turnovers tonight that I was like, what? And he has to take those shots down the stretch. He can't be afraid. And this is the issue with this Bulls team, right? They're so like, okay, DeRozan, Zach, Vooch, you guys are the ones taking the shots down the stretch. None of us are confident enough to be taking those shots down the stretch, right? Like, I'm talking about the others, right? That can't be the case. The others have to do better when it comes to down the stretch and be willing to take those shots. Not sure what Caruso was thinking there, but he just has to do better. Saw Pat Bev airballed on 2 Raptors players in the corner. Yeah, he did airball that shot too, but I think that was more so like him trying to make up for he hesitated on the previous 3 and then he shot that 3. Yeah, it's him trying to do a little bit too much. I appreciate the 3-point shot, I'll say that. It's just that he shouldn't have hesitated on the first one, which he missed short. So then he, of course, then shoots the next one long because he missed the previous one short. Yeah, it ended up being an error ball, but yeah, it is what it is. First half had me worried. Thought we for sure won this game. I disagree. I thought in that first half, like, I'm gonna give credit to this Bulls defense. This Bulls defense throughout this entire damn game was fantastic. Okay, I thought this Bulls defense was there all game. I was just like, we can't, even though that this Bulls team is defending at a high level, we can't score. We can't score, and it drives me insane. It really makes me upset seeing that this team can't score, and it's very evident why we can't score, right? And it drives me insane that this has been the issue with this team all season. Good play, Zach and DeMar pick and roll could be very effective. Yeah, I mean, that's typically a play we see down the stretch. We just didn't see it tonight. I don't know why. Yeah, Billy Donovan's decision making, man, it's really getting to the point now where I'm like, I had nothing to say. Like, I have truly nothing to say that can defend you, right? It's getting bad. It's getting seriously bad, and I don't know, man. Oh boy, just odd decisions. Now, I'm gonna bring up my Twitter because there was some stuff that I'm like, man, I don't know. So I said this, right? Look, man, I know hindsight's 2020, but I liked initially when Vucevic and Patrick Beverley checked back in. I believe it was like 7 minutes left to go with the game. Okay, the lineup was Beverley, Levine, DeRozan, P. Will, and Vucevic. Okay, I was like, okay, I hope that's the lineup we close with because that's the lineup that I think is the best for the closing stretch here because the Bulls were just getting killed on the glass, right? Even before the Raptors were starting to go on that run, they were just getting killed on the glass. So I'm like, okay, let's just leave that lineup out there. P. Will, in my opinion, has played well in this game. He's hit 2 threes. He's being effective, right? And we've seen him have some very good defensive possessions. But instead, we see then after a timeout by Billy Donovan that he brings back Caruso into the game. And I'm like, okay, man, this just can't be. I don't like the decision, but all right, let's see what happens now. If you're going to argue with me that Caruso has to be the one in the game because his net rating's so high and etc., okay, fine. Then Patrick Beverley, then he has to be the one to go. My argument against that, though, is that Patrick Beverley was the one rebounding, okay? He has 7 rebounds in this game, okay? He's the more effective rebounder between Caruso and Beverley. So if that's the case, then I'm leaving Beverley out there. I also think Beverley is the better 3-point shooter right now because I don't know what the hell is up with Caruso. So, to me, I need Beverley out there. He's just as good of a defender as Caruso. He's the better rebounder in this game. I'm leaving Beverley out there, and then I'm putting in Patrick Williams over Caruso. That's the way I would have done it. That's not the way that Billy Donovan decided to do it. So, I don't know. Just makes me upset. I also thought, I'm gonna give some criticism towards one player, and that is Vucevic, because I think that Vucevic, down the stretch, he had some opportunities where I thought that he could have boxed out better. He had 5 rebounds in this game. It's not necessarily the rebounds that I'm looking at here. It's more so the box outs, and he got out-rebounded by Scotty Barnes in that fourth quarter, right? That's the issue. Because Scotty Barnes was just still somehow able to get past them for some of these rebounds, right? the Raptors weren't playing Jakob down the stretch. They went with Scotty Barnes at the 5, right? And he was getting those offensive rebounds in that fourth, or at least tapping them, right, and allowing the Raptors to reset. So that's, to me, my only criticism of a player. Other than that, man, I looked at everybody out there on the court, and I'm like, everyone's trying for these rebounds, but there's just no size. The Raptors just completely outsized this Bulls team. And I'm gonna bring up Will Gottlieb, because there is something that I want to show you guys that I think is pretty important. So Will Gottlieb brings up this point. So this possession here was where Vucevic was switched onto Pascal Siakam. Now, my issue that I have with Gottlieb saying this possession specifically is because this was off an offensive rebound, right? The Bulls were scattered, so it's not like Vucevic was set on Pascal or switched on to Pascal. It's just how the rebound went. Vucevic was closest to Pascal off the offensive rebound. He just picked him up, okay? Now, when we see this, right, Pascal Siakam takes the shot. So now the Bulls' best defensive rebounder, or at least best box out, and the guy with the most size, he's out of the play for the rebound, okay? So if this is the case, then obviously these 4 guys, they have to come in and get the rebound. Let's just watch every single guy here, okay? Let's watch every single one, because to me, it's not like any of these guys are like they're not trying, okay? Let's just look at this. You automatically kind of see here that Beverly and DeRozan, they're trying to box out Scotty Barnes, okay? They're right here trying to take out Scotty Barnes out of this play. We see Caruso and we see Levine, they're trying to get the rebound, okay? So somehow, though, out of all of this, the Bulls don't get the rebound, and the reason why is obviously because of size. We see OG Anunoby sneak in here, and even though Beverly and Caruso have the best positions to get this rebound, they're the smallest guys in the court. And this is a 2v4 box win for the Raptors on the rebounding attempt. And here's the thing, it's not like the Bulls didn't try. That's my issue. It's like everyone's going to say, well, you got to get this rebound. That's a 2v4. Well, sorry, guys. Like, this is just pure size winning in the end. This isn't like the Bulls didn't try. So I truly don't know what to really say to those people saying like, wow, the Bulls, they didn't hustle, or they didn't work hard enough, or they didn't want it hard enough. Like, if you're gonna tell me that Beverly and Caruso here are not, like, don't want the ball, I just think you don't know basketball at the end of the day. They clearly want the ball and they're trying, and I think they actually hurt each other in the end, and they tap it to the point where neither of them could get the ball. So that happened. Now this possession here, we see Vucevic is on Pascal Siakam again. I believe this is the same possession, right? I could be wrong, but again, Will Gottlieb's point is that, well, Vucevic is out here, so he's not in the paint to get this rebound. So here we go. DeRozan is trying to box out Scotty Barnes. We see Zach's coming in. We see Patrick Beverly basically face guarding OG Anunoby, right? So Beverly's basically saying, if I'm not going to get the rebound, you're not getting the rebound here. And here comes Caruso, okay? Like, they're all here. It's just, again, size, right? But we see here Zach gets this one. But even here, I'm just concerned because I saw Scotty have decent position, and look at Beverly, right? If I'm not going to get the rebound, you're not getting the rebound. So he's just trying to eliminate OG Anunoby out of this. So, I don't know, man. Just, again, lack of size down the stretch, it kills you. And I don't know what Billy Diamond was thinking. I truly don't. So, look, man, this season is on the front office. It's also on the players. It's also partly on Billy Donovan. This game, though, my opinion, this one's on Billy Donovan. I don't think this Bulls team is supposed to win this one, but the Raptors just could not score the ball. And with the Raptors struggling so hard, right, and the Bulls defense being so good, I thought there was a chance here. And the Raptors defense is also very solid, so it's not shocking to me that the Bulls struggle to score. I just thought the Bulls were shooting themselves in the foot, obviously through the turnovers, but then just not shooting good shots, right? We're stuck still with seeing some of these mid-range attempts that I'm like, yikes, that's not good. And then also the offensive scheme is just poor. But, I mean, Raptors shot 40% from the field on 94 shot attempts. Like, it was there. It was there for the Bulls, right? And a coach decided not to do the right thing. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. I'm not gonna be, screaming my head off and pissed off for the rest of the night, but yeah, it is what it is. So it truly does suck, unfortunately. Like holding a team to 104, I'll take it. I'd hope we can score more than 104. Yeah, Patrick, I mean, look, man, here's the thing. I said this Bulls defense tonight was fantastic. I had all the praise going to this Bulls defense. They did a fantastic job against this Raptors team. They were holding the Raptors to under 40% in the first half, I believe, and then they continued to hold the Raptors to a low shooting percentage. The Raptors, they had 94 shot attempts compared to the Bulls' 71. They were shooting 40% from the field on 94 shot attempts. That's fantastic by the Bulls. We just couldn't close out the damn possession because we can't get the rebound. And, oh my god, man. It just truly sucks. So, we move. Bulls got to win the next game against the Pistons tomorrow. But yeah, this would have been a big game to get because Atlanta lost. And then if you're the Bulls, you just stay with Washington within a half game. Now you're a game and a half behind Washington, and you would have won the season series against the Raptors if you won this game. And as you can see, the Raptors are right here, so it's like, hey, this is a chance here for you to kind of be right next to the Raptors. And if it ends up being a tie at the end, right, with the Raptors, you would have had the tiebreaker because you would have won the season series. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So now you lose the tiebreaker now, and then also you drop even further down the standings, and you're now a game and a half behind Washington. You're 2.5 games behind Toronto, when you could have been a game and a half behind Toronto after tonight. So big L, I'll say that. But again, I didn't expect the Bulls to win this one. It's just that as the game goes on, it's like you should have won it, and you didn't win it. So yeah, it really does suck. I think Bulls will lose to the Pistons. I'm going to say the Bulls win against the Pistons because for some reason, the Bulls, I know the Bulls have been losing to bad teams all season, but the one team that we have beaten is the Pistons, right? I think it's just been recent history that the Bulls just destroyed the Pistons. I'm talking to even previous years, way previous years than this season. So yeah, I'm going to say the Bulls win against the Pistons, even though it's the second game of back-to-back. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, though. I think this Bulls team is going to struggle offensively again and look good defensively. So the defense better really turn up against the Pistons team, and they better carry the load and get us fast break points here. But I'm going to say the Bulls win against the Pistons. The issue, though, is this for the Bulls. The Bulls have a not so nice schedule coming up here after this Pistons game. So tomorrow it's against the Pistons. It's at 6 o'clock Central Time for us. Problem is this, then we go ahead and face Phoenix at home, and Kevin Durant is back, right? This is the game that I'm like, okay, god damn, this is gonna suck. Bulls are gonna lose this one, right? Bulls lose this one against Phoenix. I'm just calling it now. I mean, if the Bulls win this one against Phoenix, I'd be entirely shocked. I know Kevin Durant's come back from injury, but even just with Booker, CP3, and Ayton, this Suns team and their overall supporting cast is better than this Bulls team. Okay, add in Kevin Durant, who's may not be 100%. Suns win that one. Now Monday is when the Bulls, I believe. Never mind, is it Sunday? Okay, never mind. It's Sunday. Bulls face then the Pacers again, and we know that we struggle against the Pacers. So we have two teams after the Pistons game where I know the Bulls are going to struggle. So this Raptors game just kind of has a little bit more, at stake. When do the Bulls play after? Do they play Wednesday, then the 8th? And that's against the Denver Nuggets. So it's a rough stretch after this Pistons game. So I really wanted this Raptors game because of how we played and how close it was. But ended up losing it. So for a lot of the people that think that this Bulls team is going to not make the playoffs and they don't want them to make the playoffs, then I think that losing tonight was huge because we see this Bulls team is going to have some rough stretches coming up here. And this could, I think, kind of solidify the Bulls getting, officially being out of the playoff contention if the Bulls just, lose against the Pistons and then lose their next three, right? Very possible. I hope that doesn't happen, personally, but it could happen. I know that some people want this Bulls team to just lose and not make the playoffs because maybe change happens. I'd also be down for that. I just don't think change is happening anyway, so I'd rather make the playoffs. So, yeah. Overall, it truly sucks, though. Sorry, I'm changing the music here. I am gonna cut stream pretty short here. I'm not ending it now. Not ending it now. It's gonna be overall a shorter stream tonight. Work continues to be an issue with me. I got to do some stuff here, but all right. Talked about this game. I want to talk about one thing that I just saw Patrick bring up in chat here, which is about Goran Dragic. Right. I want to talk to you guys about this. Also, I need to change my fan. Hold on a second. All right, sorry. It's never mind. Hold on, I'll be back. Okay, so when it comes to Dragic, so if you're not aware what happened, the Bulls. They waived Goran Dragic today. It was kind of like a little bit of a shocker, I think, for some people. I was almost expecting it because Dragic has been like out with an injury, right? And I was kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, he might just be looking to move on now that Beverly's here, right? We know that Dragic's minutes are gonna go down because I was ahead of him in the rotation and Beverly is now starting, right? So we kind of expected Dragic's minutes to suddenly decrease significantly. I still thought there could have been a role for him, but he clearly wants to play. So he's on his way to find some minutes on a contending team or something. I honestly don't know. But this happened and now suddenly the Bulls have a roster spot open, okay? And some people are kind of looking at this like, okay, are the Bulls even able to, you know, sign anybody before going into the tax? So the Bulls right now, just so we're aware of what's happening here, okay? With Dragic being waived, the Bulls are going to have about $1.2 million remaining before they hit the luxury tax, okay? And I think this is important to note because some people just kind of forget about this, right? I don't know why suddenly some people are like, oh my god, the Bulls don't have space for the Bulls don't have space to sign a guy to the minimum contract. That's just not the case, okay? So here's Bobby Marks, okay? Bobby Marks is here saying that the Bulls have $1.2 million below the tax, okay? So if you're not aware, that is plenty of space for this Bulls team to go ahead and go out and sign a guy to the minimum contract. Beverly was signed to $506,000, okay? So with whoever the Bulls do sign, if let's say the Bulls sign someone today, they would be getting $422,000, okay? Obviously that is less than $1.2 million, and this from Ryan Borgia says that it will decrease by $10,000 each day as the Bulls don't sign anybody. Now, it's a couple things to know, okay? I think that it's important to keep in mind that the Bulls can sign somebody even like, so for them to be playoff eligible, I'm talking about players that are being waived here. If you're going to sign someone off this buyout market, they have to have been waived before the March 1st deadline, okay? Which is obviously tomorrow. So we just saw, for example, Juancho Hernan-Gomez get waived today. I think some people have thought, well, we can't get Juancho because he's not going to clear waivers until March 2nd, right? Or at least at the end of March 1st, right? So the Bulls wouldn't be able to sign him because they can't sign him until March 2nd. That's not the case. The player has to be waived before the March 1st deadline for them to be playoff eligible. Then the player can go to any team, right, after March 1st and still be playoff eligible. So let's just get this out of the way now for all the people that are confused. So Juancho Hernangomez, even though he just got waived today, right, and isn't going to clear waivers until probably after the deadline of March 1st, he's still eligible to be picked up by the Bulls, and then still will be eligible for the playoffs. Okay, even if the Bulls sign him on March 3rd, he's still eligible to be in the playoffs. Okay, let's just make that clear. There is some people that I'm kind of looking at. One player that was recently waived that I think is important to keep note of is Nerlens Noel. Nerlens Noel was on the Pistons, and he has barely played this season. He's played, I believe, 14 games. And it's in very, very limited minutes. But as you can see here, Nerlens Noel was waived. So they completed the contract buyout. He was waived on the 27th, so he'll be through waivers soon, right? He'll clear waivers pretty soon. No one's claiming him with his like $9 million contract. So that'd be a guy I'd like personally. I don't know if that's gonna happen though. I think Nerlens Noel probably wants to go to a team that's actually gonna play him, right? And I know with the Bulls, they have Andre Drummond as the backup, and Nerlens Noel probably doesn't have much of a role here anyway. I would have liked Nerlens Noel just to kind of have him for like even next season. The Bulls can't really sign anybody to a multi-year deal though, because you know they're not going to go into the tax. So you know that's their issue. But I would have liked it because with the whole Vucevic stuff right now, I don't know what Vucevic is going to be doing next season. Like he could easily leave, obviously, and just to kind of have that protection, and with Drummond having a player option, I would like to have Nerlens Noel for next season, either as a backup center or even a starting center, honestly, and him playing, maybe 26 minutes per game. That's not happening though, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna say Nerlens Noel is probably just off the list. Okay. Now Juancho Hernangomez was also waived today, and I think that a lot of Bulls fans are kind of looking at him, also known as Bo Cruz, right? Some Bulls fans are looking at him because he's like a forward / kind of hybrid center that could come in and play. I just think that he left the Raptors because he didn't have a role. So he's going to want to go to a team that's going to give him a role. Maybe not win necessarily, but a team that's going to give him a role. And I just don't know if the Bulls have a role for him, right? So hence, I just don't really see this happening either. I think he could go to like a, maybe like an Atlanta Hawks team or something, and he'll get like a bigger role there, right? But with the Bulls, I don't know. I just don't see it. So maybe this does happen. Again, I would love to have either Nerlens Noel or Juancho Hernangomez. I'd be perfectly fine with either filling in with that 15 roster spot and on a minimum contract. I would love it. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I brought up today something that I think could also happen, which is this. Okay. If you're not aware, Carlik Jones is on this Bulls team on a 2-way contract, and go look up his G League highlights. Go look up his G League stats. He's had a phenomenal season in the G League, okay, for the Winning City Bulls. We've seen him briefly up with the NBA team. He has not gotten much time though, but to me, he's had a very, very solid season. And I know everybody's gonna be complaining about guards and such, but I think that this could be an opportunity for this Bulls team to sign Carlik Jones to that 15th roster spot, right? I think that he has deserved it, and I know for certain he's getting an NBA contract next season, whether it's by the Bulls or some other team, right? I would not be opposed to just giving Carlik Jones an NBA contract now, have him take over that 15th roster spot, and then potentially figure out a way to like sign him to like a deal that it leads into next season, right? So that we'll have him under control for next season, because again, he's going to be suddenly a restricted free agent, but it's under that 2-way contract stuff, so it's going to be hard to retain him. So I just think that this could be a legitimate option to give Carlik Jones that NBA contract now. This opens up a 2-way contract now for the Bulls to go out and then sign someone else to a 2-way contract that they could potentially like for next season, right, under a 2-way contract. So go look at someone in the G League and give it to them. But give Carlik Jones his contract now so that you have a better chance of retaining him for next season, because I think I want Carlik Jones on this roster for next season. He could easily have a role for this team next season. So that's just personally what I would do. But if obviously Nerlens Noel and Juancho Hernangomez don't, want to come here, right? this is the way I would go about it. I'm also aware that this Bulls team might just not give anybody a contract, and I think that'd be pretty dumb because we have 2 guys right now out with injuries to their knees in Javonte Green and Lonzo Ball. So the Bulls right now are at 12 players. So I would like to see them go out and get another guy just for depth, but who knows? Another person that has come up, though, is Stanley Johnson. I think that is another guy that some Bulls fans are kind of looking at as a guy that can help with the forward depth. I'd also be down with him if the Bulls can bring him back. Technically, he was on a 10-day contract here before. So yeah, I'd be fine with bringing back Stanley Johnson. He's had a pretty decent overall season from 3-point range, but he's also a pretty decent finisher. Biggest thing with him, though, is obviously his defense that he can bring. And he just brings length to this Bulls team that clearly needs length and size. So Stanley Johnson's another guy I would like to bring. Again, though, would he accept this accept the 15th man roster spot with this Bulls team? I don't know. I truly don't know. That'd be kind of my biggest concern, is just that these guys that are potentially, or guys that are free agents right now, just don't want to come to the Bulls because there's no role for them, right? Unless Billy Donovan decides to change things up, which I think he needs to. So I don't know, man. Just kind of thinking out loud, giving you some ideas just to kind of be aware of as the Bulls potentially fill that 15th roster spot with somebody. Who knows? Again, it's not a guarantee that they fill that roster spot with somebody. So, throwing out ideas. We'll see what AK and Buck obviously decide to do. I just would like to see them fill it with somebody. But yeah. Not gonna lie, I'm hoping the Bulls lose and so change will happen and somehow get lucky in the draft like we did with D-Rose. I'm telling you right now, the Bulls are not going to get lucky in the draft. We know how this rolls. So yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, we can hope and pray. I guess that's fine. You want to. Yeah, I get Carter Dragic. I liked him as a Bull personally. I really wasn't that big of a fan of him, honestly. I did not like much of him. Bulls go for Melo. I don't want him. Sadly, I'm stuck in between Victor and Scoot. No, the Scoot Bulls are cursed when it comes to point guards. All I'm going to say is this. If the Bulls somehow get the first overall pick, I'm choosing Victor. I'm aware that, his injuries are a big concern. He hasn't had injury history, just the fact that he is 7'4", and we know that 7'4" people, they typically have injuries in the NBA, and I'm talking about significant injuries. I'm aware of that. I'm not giving up that sort of talent, though, right? That's not something that I'm gonna just pass up on. I'm choosing Victor over Scoot, and I'm gonna live with even if Victor ends up getting injuries. That whichever team has the first overall pick, they gotta choose Victor, because what's gonna happen is if they choose Scoot, right? Victor Wembanyama is going to kill them for the rest of eternity. And they're always just going to be hitting themselves because they decide to pass up on a dude just because of injuries. I always just go based off potential. I truly am a guy that I look at this as, unless he has some severe injury history, right? Which Victor Wembanyama does not, then you choose the guy with the most potential. You don't just pass up a guy just because you think he could be injury prone when he has not had any sort of injury history before. So, to me, it's a no-brainer. You choose Victor, and if it ends up not working out, so be it. And you move on. But you just know that you chose him at the right. You chose the right guy because he had the most potential. DeRozan, not gonna get my DeRozan. I'll say that for sure. Yeah. But defensively, I had no issues with anybody tonight. But yeah. This is true, but I see All-Star with Scoot. I don't see it with Victor yet. I'm not saying he doesn't have the tools to be an All-Star. I would like for him to bulk up because you're going to play him at center. He's going to be going... Okay, unstoppable. Right now, I'm going to tell you that mindset is just wrong. Like, it's the same argument that I've heard about Chet Holmgren and some of these other guys. Nobody in the entire world can guard Joker, Embiid, Anthony Davis. Nobody can guard them, right? You can put Anthony Davis on Nikola Jokic right now, and Nikola Jokic is still going to put up a 40-point triple-double, okay? I don't care that Victor Wembanyama isn't going to be able to come in and guard Embiid, AD, and Jokic, okay? Like, I truly do not care, because guess what? Nobody in the league right now can guard Joker, Embiid, and AD. Nobody in the league can guard them right now. Kendrick Perkins had that stupid tweet that he put out there showing Victor Wembanyama getting bodied down low, and he's saying, oh, like, there's no way that Victor Wembanyama is going to be able to play against Embiid and Giannis, or whatever the tweet was. And I'm just like, well, guess what? No one can guard either of those guys, right? There's no one can guard any of those guys. So if Victor Wembanyama can't guard Giannis, Embiid, etc., well, he's just like everybody else in the NBA. There's no issues whatsoever. So I truly do not understand that mindset whatsoever. Victor Wembanyama, to me, has the most potential by far. I'm aware that the dude is skinny. I'm aware. But even with his skinniness, he has the most potential. And just because he is skinny and you think he can't guard Embiid, which, again, nobody can guard Embiid, if you pass up on Victor Wembanyama because of that, you're doing everything wrong. Okay? I truly don't like that mindset whatsoever. And I can go ahead and say the same thing about Scoot Henderson. Like, I don't think Scoot Henderson can guard Steph Curry. I don't think Scoot Henderson can guard Damian Lillard. Like, I can say that about him too. And you know what? Everyone's gonna be like, well, no one can guard him. Like, same thing, right? Same thing with Victor Wembanyama. Scoot Henderson can't guard those guys because guess what? Nobody can guard Steph Curry or Damian Lillard. Nobody can guard them. So it just, at the end of the day, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't like that. I don't like seeing that argument at all. So, you know, same thing with this Bulls team. Like, everyone, you know, when the Bulls face the Bucks, it's like, well, who's gonna guard Giannis, right? Like, I don't care if you're the best seed in the NBA or you're the worst team in the NBA, right? No one can guard Giannis. No, it doesn't matter. Like, sure, you may have a better overall team defense, right? But no one can guard Giannis one-on-one. Like, that shouldn't be the question, is like, who's going to guard Giannis? It's like, the question should be, how are the Bulls going to guard Giannis, right? Or when Victor Wembanyama comes into the league, whichever team he's on, and they're going to be facing Embiid, right? The question should be, how are they going to be guarding Embiid? It's not going to be who's going to be guarding Embiid. It's how are they going to be guarding Embiid, right? That's the reason why it makes no sense to be like, well, Victor Wembanyama is too skinny. He's going to get bodied by all these guys. Guess what? Everybody gets bodied by those guys. It doesn't matter who they are, right? Example, I'm reading, you know, like, you don't want to get thrown around, and et cetera, et cetera. Like, I get it. I understand, you know, with injury, but it's the same thing. I don't care if Anthony Davis is the one guarding Embiid, right? The dude gets injured all the time, and he's been in the NBA for a decade plus, right? So, to me, injuries happen. It is what it is. I think that the more concern with Victor Wembanyama is if he's going to get injured via his overall size of being 7'4" and the pressure on his knees, than if he's going to get injured just because he's going to be playing down low and playing up against Embiid and Jokic and Anthony Davis and Giannis, right? I don't think that's going to lead to the injury, because we've seen much smaller players, right, than Victor Wembanyama, much smaller guys guard those guys, and they don't get injured, right? If they don't get injured just because they're smaller against those guys. I truly don't think that's something that needs to be a concern. The concern with Victor Wembanyama should be if he's going to get injured because of his 7'4" frame, and we know that puts a lot of pressure on his knees, right? That's the only concern. Yeah, I feel like that's the only thing, because other than that, man, the dude has legit every skill I've ever seen from a dude that's 7 foot plus. So, yeah. Let's see here. This is they I say Gafford and Claxton was getting dominated by Vooch. I'm not sure what you mean by that salty solution, but honestly, I would argue that Gafford and Claxton were dominating Vooch, especially on the rebounding aspect of the game. But that's that. But I don't know. Gafford had a damn good game against us in Chicago in our last game against the Wizards. I'll just say that. Not saying Vooch had a bad game. I'm just saying that Gafford had a good game. and he was just killing us on the offensive glass. So I don't know, man. We can have this debate. I think that everyone's just gonna have their opinions on it, but to me, I'm not. Just because Victor Wembanyama isn't gonna be able to guard Giannis isn't gonna be the reason why I don't pick him. Yeah, he's obviously not fully grown yet, so sure, if you're gonna be worried about him because he's so skinny when he comes to the NBA, fine. I just think that there's gonna be perfectly fine ways to figure it out, and you're gonna be able to make sure he doesn't get screwed down low, right? They'll be just fine. Okay. Name something that's skinny, taking on Joker and Embiid and AD. Well, let's just look at this Raptors team, right? They don't have anybody big until Jakob Poeltl got here. They were guarding Joel Embiid with Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, and Pascal Siakam, guys that are skinnier, right? Chris Boucher is the skinniest dude in the world. Have you seen him? Right? This is how they do things. Okay, like there's teams out here that are willingly putting smaller guys on Jokic, Embiid, and AD. We saw Derrick Jones Jr. on the Bulls guard Anthony Davis last season, and he was fine, right? It's not like he's getting injured down there, okay? Not saying they guard them well. Like, they don't guard them well because guess what? No one guards those three guys well. None of them do. Go get the best defender in the NBA. Go get Nick Claxton, for God's sake, and try to have him guard any of those guys. Like, he'll probably do a better job than most, but he's still going to get dominated by those guys, right? So, to me, though, I'm just like, look, it doesn't matter. I don't care who you have. They're going to get dominated. So, if Victor Wembanyama gets dominated by those guys, guess what? He's just like everybody else in the NBA. He gets dominated by Embiid, Jokic, and AD. Congratulations, you're in the NBA. Not all game, bro? Yeah, not all game. I agree. But Victor Wembanyama isn't going to be guarding all those guys all game, right? Like, if a coach actually believes that Victor Wembanyama is supposed to be a center in today's game, I think that there's something wrong with them. Like, Victor Wembanyama should be not used as a center. He needs to be used like Giannis, right? He's not supposed to be the center in today's game. He needs to be the Giannis on the court, which I don't even think is a position, right? He should be used as Giannis, right? And not necessarily always diving into the lane because the dude can shoot the three ball. So use him as not a center, use him as a Giannis Antetokounmpo, because that's how you're gonna win. Yeah, all right, what's going on, Noel? I know it's been a bit. I'm all right. I gotta do some work here soon, but I'm doing okay. This Bulls team, I think, has been fantastic defensively, so at least that's put me in a decent mood. But they continue to suck on offense, and I'm gonna continue to harp on them. And Billy Donovan sucks as a coach, so. That's my update. Hope you're doing well, Noel. But yeah. We're just talking about what the Bulls should be doing with their 15th roster spot now that Goran Dragic is waived. Should the Bulls lose or win the rest of the season, which I think the Bulls are on their way to losing and not making the play-in right now. But, who knows? We'll see. I know that after, that Denver game, the schedule kind of lightens up again. I know the Bulls have a pretty simple schedule compared to like the Wizards and Hawks and Raptors. So we'll see. It's just that I know the Raptors right now they're rolling. The Wizards, they just won against the Atlanta Hawks, and they look better and not great. They just look better. And Atlanta, we'll see. Honestly, I think if there's a team that's gonna fall out of the play-in, it's gonna be Atlanta, because they're having issues, and I know they just made a coaching change, and we'll see what happens there. We don't have a consistent offensive player right now. I'm arguing that there's a issue with more that the offensive scheme is awful. The post-ups are annoying. The mid-range shots are stupid. And Billy Donovan as a coach does not know how to run an offense. I agree with that. I was thinking of the center. That's why I said that my only worry, don't want him in with those bulky centers. Kind of worries me, an injury could happen. I understand, like, I get your concern, Unstoppable. I just don't think that's how an injury happens. I truly don't. I'd be kind of shocked if an injury happens that way. So, to me, what you're going to be seeing is whichever team drafts him, right, you're going to see him be played at the 4, okay? He's going to be the 4. And he's going to be put in that Giannis Antetokounmpo role, right? And you're going to see him be used as more of a help defender than him being used as like the man in the middle type defender guarding, the centers. Okay, he's gonna be guarding, some of these forwards instead of him guarding true centers. Okay, that's how I think Victor Wembanyama is gonna be used. Offensively, he's in that Giannis role. Defensively, he's in the help role. Okay, he is mobile enough for him to be able to guard these forwards out there, right? Like, if you're worried about him getting blown by a forward, you're wrong. His length and his athleticism is on par with everybody, and his agility is going to be just fine. So I think that's how you're going to use him. And even though that Giannis is like, bulked up now and he's huge, like, he's still in that help role, right? Like, you don't typically see Giannis always playing the center. He plays center for like some spot minutes throughout a game, but he's typically in that help role, right? He's typically guarding a forward, okay? So Victor Wembanyama, in my opinion, is going to be put in the exact same position. And obviously, he's skinny now, but once he bulks up, the dude, I think, is just going to be unstoppable. So. We had DeMar last year, who was really consistent and efficient. Well, DeMar DeRozan had to have a historical season for his game to be effective, right? We're seeing DeMar DeRozan now. He's having like a pretty decent season. It's an all-star season, but because he's not putting up historical numbers, his mid-range game, right, is not effective, right? The mid-range game is dead. You can't be a team that doesn't shoot threes and then you have your best player, quote unquote, come down the floor and then shoot a mid-range shot and expect to win each game, right? Because even if DeMar DeRozan gets on fire, you're still shooting twos, and they're twos that aren't at the basket, which, again, inefficient shots. So DeRozan put up historical numbers at the mid-range game last season. That's the reason why it worked out well. This season, though, he's having an all-right season. I don't think he's 100% right now. Also, he just hasn't played well recently. But it's not about the offense not having a consistent player. It's the offense itself is not consistent, right? You're posting up. You're not shooting enough threes, you're not getting to the basket enough, and you're not getting to the free throw line enough. That's everybody. It's not just one player, right? That's the issue. Like even, I'll just say this, even if, let's say, Zach LaVine had like a fantastic game today, let's say you put up 35, if no one else is shooting threes, if no one else is getting to the free throw line, if no one else is scoring in the paint, Bulls lose this game, right? It's just how it is. So I just think that that's the biggest issue right now with this Bulls team. The scheme is backwards. It's 90s. And we got guys that are shooting the wrong shots. And we don't have the personnel to be shooting the three-point shots, unfortunately. So, you got to run a better scheme. But we don't. And it sucks. And it's stupid. And we continue to lose. Once so close to the Magic, we'll see. I'm also hoping Pacers win. We might be able to take their spot in the lottery. Good luck with that salty solution. I don't know if that's going to happen. I honestly think the Magic are not going to be playing well for the rest of the season. They're having issues. So I expect the Magic just to continue to lose. They've had good moments. It's just that they continue to have some of these odd games where it's like you should have won that one and then you don't. So yeah, I expect the Magic honestly just to tank the rest of the season. Well, trade DeMar, move P. Will to the 3, Victor at the 4. Let's speak it into the existence law. Yeah, good luck with that happening. I don't see that happening. If that ever does happen, though, I would agree with you. But we're not getting Victor. People in this game show good moments. I agree. I thought he should have been closing this game Noel, and yet instead Billy Donovan decided that we're running Caruso and Patrick Beverly out there to close the game. Like I said before, even if we get Victor, BD not the man for the job. I agree. Yeah, I think Billy Donovan isn't going to develop him correctly. He's going to put him in the wrong offensive system and have him be shooting mid-range shots and post-ups instead of actually doing what he should be doing, which is ball handling, attacking the basket at all times, shooting three-point shots, put him in the pick and roll as him in the screener, and have him dive hard to the basket or pop out for the 3. Like, that's how you should be using him, but instead we're going to see him in the post if he's on the Bulls. So, yeah, just know that it's all messed up. There's no way we get past the first round. I agree. But, I mean, I don't think the Bulls, let's say the Bulls lose out from here on out, and then they somehow have, let's say somehow you get behind the Orlando Magic. Like, let's say you're worse than the Magic, okay? Then you're still probably going to be worse than the Thunder, Spurs, and Rockets, and Hornets and Pistons. So let's just take OKC out of this. Let's just say OKC, is better than the Bulls at the end of the day, okay? Then you're still behind the Rockets, Spurs, and the Pistons and Hornets, okay? and that means you have the 5th best odds, and we know what happens when the Bulls have the 5th best odds. You fall back to 7th. So, congratulations. It's not going to happen. So, here's what it is. Billy get fired, go on take a thought. Billy's not getting fired. There's no way in Shy's getting fired. I think this year's draft is really deep. I agree. That's the reason why I want Portland to make it to the playoffs, which, by the way, I think Portland's going to make it now because, like, forget the Damian Lillard 71-point game, which was absolutely crazy, but Portland right now, okay, if Portland makes the play-in, and I don't even care what seed they are, I think they make the playoffs, okay? I think Golden State takes one of the seeds if they're down here, right, which we don't know, and then Portland beats Pelicans, Timberwolves, Utah. Let's just say that's the teams, right? Unless the Lakers somehow make it to the play-in, which I don't think is going to happen, I think Portland makes it in. The Pelicans right now, they are in struggle mode. They have lost 20 of their last 27. Okay? The Pelicans suck right now. Like, they are at the bottom of the worst right now. And it's even funnier because Pelican fans are kind of like, this was the season, and now they're even trying to consider, do we tank the rest of the season? Because the Lakers pick and their pick is basically going to be the same pick. So their pick swap doesn't even mean anything right now. So yeah, the Pelicans, I think they're going to fall out of the play-in and they're not going to make the playoffs because they have sucked. Their defense has sucked. Zion is not back, and even if he does come back, their defense is still going to suck. I think CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, they've had, I think CJ's been nice, but, BI's been injured and he's been inconsistent. Like, I think the Pelicans are going to fall out, hence why Portland's going to make it. And if Portland makes it, that gives us a pick, right? I want the pick, right? I truly do want the pick this year because I do think the draft is very deep. Yeah. We need that D-Rose luck. Yeah, and it's not happening. Not liability is reaching Doc Rivers' level of fraud. I agree. I 100% agree with you on that. I think Doc Rivers also, by the way, isn't like... I think people really hate on Doc Rivers because he is black and they really want to be racist towards, a black coach. But I'll also say this. I do think Doc Rivers is overall a bad coach. He doesn't exactly know a lot of stuff, but when Doc Rivers was being criticized, in my opinion, there are much worse coaches in the league that don't get the same criticism as him, right? I think that's something that we need to be aware of, okay? I think another coach that is getting way too much criticism is Steven Silas right now in Houston. Like, I think Steven Silas is not a horrible coach. I'm not saying he's great. He's done some stuff that's odd this year, but when I hear, all of a sudden that, a lot of people are starting to question him and his ability to coach, I'm like, shouldn't we be questioning some of these other teams? Like, Chris Finch for the Minnesota Timberwolves is a horrible coach, and no one has said anything about him, right? That, to me, makes me really upset. Like, the Timberwolves should not be 31-32 right now. I know Cat's been out, but Chris Finch is a god-awful coach, and no one says crap about him, and people need to start talking about him. Bulls and Blazers are polar opposites. Yeah, we'll see. I'm here watching, just eating a big fat veggie burger. What's going on, Lob Mob? Hope you're enjoying the content. They have a top 5 offense, bad defense. We have a top 5 defense, bad offense. Yeah, that is a pure opposite of the Bulls, and yet we're still, under 500, but it's both teams in the 11th seed. Not him because he is bad, man. His coach a limited amount of all-stars / superstars level 10. Only thing has to show up is KG, Pierce, Ray, Allen, Rondo, Chip. Okay, I mean, I understand the criticism because like it is fair. Like, the Doc Rivers on the Clippers, like in the CP3 years, right, and then also with the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George year, like, yeah, he deserves a criticism for sure. Like, those teams should have 100% done better with those teams. And I do think that Doc is a part of the issue with that happened. Now let's just talk about this though with the Celtics. Okay, like, Doc Rivers that year that he won in 2008. Let's remind ourselves that the Celtics were back in the finals in 2010, right? And that was against a Kobe Bryant Lakers led team, right? The Lakers, they made the playoff, they made the finals 3 straight years, and then Doc Rivers, they made 2 of the 3 straight years, or 2 of the 3 years, right? I don't think that's something to kind of just scoff at, right? Like, that's something that I feel like should be kind of given a little bit more praise to Doc. I'm not saying he was amazing, but he deserves a little bit more praise for that. Now, after that, though, I'm willing to agree that he has not done a good job. But, like, those Celtics years, I feel like he deserves some credit. But again, after that, I'm willing to be full out. Yeah, he deserves he deserves a lot of criticism. Let's just say the Bulls get the number 1 pick somehow. Are you gonna do a celebration stream? Oh yeah, I'll celebrate. I'm just saying it's not gonna happen. I'm full out like, oh, it's not happening. Like, if the Bulls make the lottery, I'm just expecting them to fall. Even if they don't get the 14th best odds, I'm just expecting them to fall. That's how it goes. He is the record holder of losing 3-1 leads. Yeah, but I also think that's part of his player personnel. Like, CP3 has been known to blow 3-1 leads too, right? So, who's a better coach, Billy Donovan or Mike Budenholzer? I'm gonna go with Mike Budenholzer. I do think that Mike Budenholzer has some issues, but he's done better, a little bit better. It just he does have some odd decisions. Mike Budenholzer has been consistent with one thing, though, which is that his defense, no matter what, is like top tier in the league, right? Every single year, his defense is always top tier. Now, the problem that I've always had with Mike Budenholzer is strategic timeouts, ability to make in-game adjustments, and then offensively, I feel like that he needs to do a little bit better job of running better plays. I do think that the offensive system is overall nice that they have over in Milwaukee, but I feel like he can do a little bit better of like making better plays for the Bucks to kind of take advantage of their player personnel. But that's just me. But yeah, I think Mike Budenholzer is better. Obviously, the Bucks right now, they're on a 15-game winning streak, so I think the obvious choice is right there in front of our eyes. For limited games, I saw from the Clippers, I noticed Doc doesn't know how to adjust, kind of like Billy. Yeah, Doc doesn't know how to adjust. He truly doesn't. I don't think Billy could replicate the Boone did with Hawks. Joe Johnson being his best player next to Jamal Crawford, Josh Smith, and Al Horford. So Mike Budenholzer, let's remind ourselves when Mike Budenholzer was with the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, Mike Budenholzer was with the Atlanta Hawks with the Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Jeff T, Kyle Korver years, right? It wasn't necessarily like the Josh Smith, Joe Johnson type years, right? Joe Johnson was in Brooklyn when Mike Budenholzer was with Atlanta, right? So let's just make sure that we get that out of the way. Like I want to be clear that the team that Mike Budenholzer led with Atlanta to the number 1 seed and was, by far and away the best record in the NBA was Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Jeff T, Kyle Korver, DeMar Carroll, right? So let's just make sure we understand that. Yeah. But Budenholzer, he did a pretty decent job with Atlanta. It's just that, yet again, as I've always said, Budenholzer, his ability to make in-game adjustments is suspect. And then we saw in the playoffs that they just got wrecked by LeBron in the playoffs, right? And I feel like they could have done a better job against LeBron in the playoffs. I'm not saying they win the series, but they got swept, if I'm not mistaken. So that type of stuff with Budenholzer, it's always like, especially in the playoffs, I do get suspect of him, of like, can you make the in-game adjustments? And I don't know if he can. Now, his offensive scheme, his defensive scheme, I feel like his defensive scheme is top tier. His offensive scheme, I've always been kind of like, it's nice. Like, he uses Giannis pretty well and then others pretty well. They jack up threes at a good rate too. But then the issue is just that, can you draw up the play at the end of a game that's going to be effective, right? Can you make the in-game adjustment at halftime that's going to make you take the lead, right? I don't know if he can do that. That's my only concern. Luckily, he has, in my opinion, the best player in the world in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So he might not have to do anything, honestly, right? Yeah, especially getting seven picked 3 years in a row. When that happens, you're supposed to hit the jackpot. Again, that 1 pick, we got the 4th. Well, yeah. I'm just saying right now, the Indiana Pacers, if they make the lottery, they're gonna get into the top 4 somehow, because that's how it rolls, right? That's how this is gonna work. The Indiana Pacers, they're gonna have like a 4% chance or something. They're gonna make it to the top 4. Yeah. We got the 4th and probably the weakest draft of the decade. Yep, we definitely did. That's how it works. And I'm not saying we missed on that pick yet. Like I don't think Patrick Williams is a miss, but yeah, it just sucks that the top three it was top three heavy. I agree. Yeah, who you got winning this year? Who you got this year winning the championship? So to me, it's gonna come down to, in the Eastern Conference, I had the Bucks moving to the finals, and in the West, I have the Phoenix Suns. Like I feel like if Phoenix doesn't make it to the finals, it's a big like you failed. Like even though I understand KD hasn't played and they're just getting used to each other, that team is loaded and they better make it to the finals. Now, here's the thing, okay? I think that the Milwaukee Bucks, because Giannis, in my opinion, is the best player in the league, I think that they could legitimately beat the Phoenix Suns because they had the best player in the league, and then they have a big three when they're overall they're looking pretty good, right? Drew Holiday's had a phenomenal year. Drew Holiday deserved to be an all-star. He's had a fantastic year. And he's stepped up huge with Chris Middleton being on and off the court and not being himself, right? The biggest question, though, is if Chris Middleton can get back to being Chris Middleton, right? That's going to be the entire thing, in my opinion. Because right now, Giannis and Holiday, and along with the Bucks and their good depth, they're playing fantastic, and I don't see anyone stopping them right now. The biggest question, though, is if Chris Middleton can be healthy and himself if they face the Phoenix Suns. And that, to me, is going to be the big thing. If Chris Middleton's healthy, I have the Bucks winning it all. If Chris Middleton's not healthy, then I can see the Bucks losing in the second round of the playoffs, right? I can see the Bucks losing to the 76ers or losing to the Celtics, and then suddenly those are the teams moving on. And one of those two teams making the finals, but then I think Phoenix beats both of them. So to me, I'm gonna assume that Chris Middleton's gonna be healthy and rolling at that time of come playoff time. And if that's the case, I'm gonna choose the Milwaukee Bucks winning the championship this year. It was Woodson with Joe Johnson. Yes, it was Mike. I believe it was Mike Woodson, or maybe I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. Drew has been under the radar. He has good 76ers shoes. People just slept on him big time. So I think with Drew Holiday, the biggest issue with him has been the injuries, right? He got injured at a severe enough rate where everyone's like, crap, we can't really rely on him. And then even though after his all-star year with the 76ers, he's been kind of inconsistent, right? He's always been a great defender. It's just the offense has been very inconsistent. He then goes to the Pelicans, and he has a very good year, but it wasn't an all-star type year, right? I think that was kind of where it's he's nice. It's just that I don't see him ever being a part of a team where he could be one of the big three or a top two player on a championship caliber team. Well, right now he's the second best player on the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're rolling, right? So I think that it's taking some time for him to kind of develop into that role where he's comfortable enough taking that offensive responsibility and then keeping up with his defense, right? And he's figured it out now. I think obviously having Giannis helps, but he's figured it out now, especially with Chris Middleton being out, and he's done a fantastic job. And I truly think now that even if, let's say, Chris Middleton is comes back and he's the third option, I think the Bucks are fine. It's just I need Chris Middleton healthy to the point where he's an option, right? Because if the Bucks just have two options, I don't think it's enough. I look at the Celtics and I say the same thing. I don't think it's enough. I think you have two options and that's it. I don't think it's enough. And I know that Tatum and Brown have had a fantastic year. I just don't think it's enough. 76ers, I even say that Tyrese Maxey is not even an option at this point, and I just don't think it's enough. I think having Embiid and Harden's nice. I just don't think you have a third option that's consistent enough. And I know that they have Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, but I don't see those guys as a big enough difference makers for me to be yeah, that's your big three out there. The thing is, though, is that now that Phoenix, they have a big four, right? And you can say big three if you don't want to count CP3 right now. That's scary, right? I think that's scary, and that's the reason why I'm yeah, teams need to have a big three at the bare minimum to be even considered part of the title this year. Phoenix's defensive questions, I agree with that. I do think that Phoenix has some defensive questions, but I feel like they're going to be better than what people expect defensively. I'm just going to say that. I believe Middleton's underrated, actually. I think Middleton is underrated as a scorer. Now, Salty Solution, you're saying inconsistent and average defender. I disagree with him being inconsistent. I also think that Middleton is an average defender. I do think that he is, in a sense, overrated as a defender, that people think he's a really good defender. He's not really a good defender. But what he does offensively, I feel like people just don't recognize. The dude is a sniper from three. He is a very good ball handler and understands how to actually create within an offense very well. And he has been like that clutch player that the Bucks have needed, right, at the end of a game. So to me, Middleton's offensive game is very underrated, but his defense is overrated. But in my opinion, he's overall underrated as a player. Man, imagine what we'd be saying about Zach if he was playing with the Bucks. He would be licking our chops, and right now you see our fans straight up being toxic against Zach. I don't know why. If the Bulls fans are being toxic against Zach tonight, I don't know what's up with them. I feel like that's them being pretty dumb, because all Bulls fans have said is that Zach LaVine needs to play defense, and I'm just gonna say LaVine's defense has been fantastic the past month or so, right? Sorry if you hear that siren. LaVine's defense has been fantastic, and he just had 2 straight amazing offensive performances. Obviously tonight wasn't great, but Raptors defense is no joke. So I don't know what people are upset about, honestly. If they're upset at LaVine tonight. I will say that I think LaVine's gotten too much criticism overall throughout this entire season. I feel like that is unnecessary. I think that that's something that people need to understand is just ridiculous. I don't know why people are suddenly against the guy that I feel like has been the one guy that has come every single year, has performed every single year, and has gotten better every single year, right? People are going to say that he's gotten worse this year. I don't know why they say that. I understand his shooting percentages are a little bit lower, but if this is the worst shooting season of Zach LaVine in the past 5 seasons, that's a good thing, because he's shooting 38% from 3 or 37% and 46% from the field. A lot of guards would take that in today's world. So I don't know what people are saying if they're saying that Zach's regressed this year. He hasn't. So yeah, I don't know what it is. Again, Bulls fan base is never going to be happy. I think that they're always going to be true, or I guess, in lack of a better word, like homerism is a big thing, because when Derrick Rose was here, and even when he came back from all those injuries and he wasn't really performing at an all-star level, everyone loved him still, and they still love him today. And hell, I still see people trying to get Derrick Rose to this team right now, which to me makes absolutely no sense. I understand that Derrick Rose is going to have a special place in every Bulls fan's heart, but when he wasn't exactly performing up to par in terms of being an all-star and getting paid a max contract, by the way, no one really said anything, and it's just because it's Derrick Rose, right? And obviously I'm aware he had an MVP type season, but I'm just going to use the same arguments that everyone's using against Zach right now. Everyone's saying that Zach regressed, okay? Well, if Derrick Rose was supposed to be an MVP, well, he seriously regressed after those injuries. And yes, Zach LaVine has also had injuries and has also had surgeries. So, same thing, right? I'm aware that Derrick's was a lot more severe, but, Zach has also gone through injuries. So, I just think that a lot of Bulls fans, they like to pick and choose who they're going to be happy with. I think that they fell in love with Jimmy, hated that he was traded, so they're just going to hate the players that they got in return. Hence, Zach has always had a target on the back of his head since he's gotten here, and I don't understand that sort of mentality. Makes me upset, honestly, but it is Bulls fans at the end of the day. So I think that it's pretty upsetting to see it overall. When the Bulls played the Bucks last playoffs, they were immediately scoring easy because Middleton was the defender. But I also don't think Salty Solution. I don't think Middleton was 100%. I don't think Middleton was fully healthy that series. I do agree though that he was not defending well, and I've always said that Middleton's defense is not that good. But I don't think he was 100% that series. Also, he did get injured again. I think Cleveland would reach the East. Could reach these East Finals. I disagree. I think that Donovan Mitchell being your best player is not good. I think Embiid, Tatum, and Giannis are all better players than Donovan Mitchell. So I choose those 3 teams to make the conference finals over the Cleveland Cavaliers personally. I'm saying LaVine's been a solid defender this season, honestly. Last 10 games, Zach is scoring 28 points per game on 52-30. So yeah. It truly is mind-boggling, but we need number 1. Oh yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out, honestly. Can't blame one single person or thing for this disappointing Bull season. But if you were, it ain't Zach, it's AK front office. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I heard Bulls fans saying we should sign D Rose after Guar got waived. Yeah, I've been seeing that all over Twitter today, and I'm just like, guys, we don't have any room for him to play. Like he's not playing over Io. He's not playing over Patrick Beverley. Okay, like there's nowhere for him to play. I don't know why Bulls fans are like, we want to see him play. He's going to help this team out. I understand if you just want it as a Derrick Rose fan, but I feel like you should understand as a Derrick Rose fan that he's not going to play here, right? Yeah. The front office / ownership created the image about Rose sitting on his ass while getting paid a max. Man just wanted to rehab 100% after a second surgery on the other knee, and we kept pushing it. No, I totally agree. Like, I think that the Bulls ownership 100% was pissed off at Derrick Rose being injured consistently, and they were really pushing him to come back. Now, let's just be real, though. He did have, after tearing an ACL, he had that entire season off after, right? And so he then comes back, and suddenly he gets injured again. So, like, his initial injury that he had a full season plus to get 100% healthy, right? And he had all that time. It's just that he comes back, he wasn't necessarily looking amazing, right? And I understand injury, you haven't played in a year, that's going to happen. But I think what really kills him is just, it's like you had that ACL tear. I actually thought his explosiveness looked fine after that ACL tear. It's just that once he had that meniscus tear, I think that's when it all went downhill. And I just think that Bulls fans, after he had the meniscus tear, and he comes back and is the full-time point guard again, and we're looking at him and we're like, okay, how are you playing? Like, Bulls fans, like, they were just like, it's Derrick Rose, he's fine, we can't criticize him. Like, I'm aware that he's had major injuries. It's just that he's making a max contract, right? And if Bulls fans now are going to be pissed at Zach for not playing up to their standards on a max contract, Derrick Rose was not an all-star after his ACL tear on a max contract for the Bulls, okay? So I'm just going to be pointing that out as a way of showing that the hypocrisy of the Bulls fan base is severe. Again, I'm aware Derrick Rose had more severe injuries than Zach, but Zach had that knee surgery obviously last offseason, and then he was dealing with a knee injury the season before he got the max deal. So it's just something to keep in mind as we look at max contracts as Bulls fans, right? I don't understand what it is with Bulls fans that they're going to be saying, oh, that's fine, we can pay this guy this much a max deal, but then this guy can't get one. And we're always just going to be criticizing him just because we don't like him. So I get it that Zach doesn't necessarily have that heart, hustle, and muscle in his game that everyone loves in Chicago. But we need to get out of that. Like, we just straight up have to, because that's 90s basketball. And it's not going to work in today's world. It just straight up won't. Hell, this Bulls team right now is top 5 defensively, or at least top 10 defensively. They're showing their great defense that everyone loves and sees. But you know that Bulls fans right now are going to say, we're not a good defensive team, right? That's all they're going to say, because they see the players and they know that the players have that sort of stigma of not being good defensively, right? They see Vucevic, not good defensively. DeRozan, not good defensively. Zach, not good defensively, right? They're going to say that when it's just straight up false. And I think that's stupid. But if we had Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, we'd all be saying that, oh, this Bulls team's great defensively. That's how it goes. I'm just here to call it out, right? Thought the Bulls waived him to save money or possibly go after Noel. No, so Goran Dragic and the Bulls, they agreed to a buyout or just getting waived. They agreed to him being released because Dragic wants to go to a team that's going to play him more, be on a contending level team. That's the only reason why Dragic got waived. We'll see if the Bulls sign anybody to that 15 roster spot. The Bulls don't save money in this deal, or by waiving Dragic, they don't save money, by the way. It would have been the same money if they kept him or decided to release him. So it's not about saving money. The Bulls have plenty of space for a minimum contract for that 15th roster spot. We're just going to see if AK decides to use it or not. Think Zach's worth the money? I agree. I totally agree that Zach's worth the money. I think Zach is like Jaylen Brown to JT. Oh yeah, same thing. I 100% agree with that. Like Zach LaVine's a 2, but as I've said, a 2 gets paid a max contract. Chris Middleton's getting paid a max contract. So if you think he's overrated, well, guess what? He's getting paid a max contract. So there it is. Yeah, number 2s get paid max deals. It's how it works. And Zach LaVine's number 2, but obviously there's really not a number 1 right now on this team, and hence why this team is having issues. Speaking of full year off from injury, if Lonzo Ball isn't ready and fully healthy by training camp, do we move on? Mob, I'm already thinking of moving on from Lonzo. Like, I'm not saying in the sense of, like, we get rid of him. Like, the Bulls are never going to waive Lonzo. They're never going to trade him. Like, they can't trade him because no team's going to accept him, but they're also not just going to eat that $20 million in his salary. I just think that this Bulls team has to act as if Lonzo Ball is not going to be here moving forward, right? And in my head, that's already moving on from Lonzo, right? It's not like he's gone. It's just that you have to act as if he's not ever going to play again. So that means getting a point guard or developing Io to be that starting point guard, or maybe just keeping Patrick Beverley, right? I don't really care what it is. Just plan on Lonzo Ball not playing forever, right? That's what I'm already in that mindset with Lonzo Ball. It sucks, but yeah, that I expect the front office to be in that mindset for next season. If they're not, then there's a serious issue. But, you know, probably with Derek, from my point of view, he wanted to give the fans what they wanted, the good old explosive roles, and he kept going hard through him and kept getting injured. So I do think that Derek's play style was part of his downfall for sure. Also, small guards, as we've said in this channel many times, like if you attack the rim that hard, as a small dude, you're just gonna get injured, right? Because of how you're running into 7-footers down there, and you're a 6'2", 180 and 190 point guard, right? Yeah, that's something with Derek. I do think that was an issue. I will give Derek credit though for working on his game to be more 3-point centric as the years went on. I do agree though that he was very much like always attacking the rim when I feel like he just didn't have that explosiveness anymore, and it kind of led to some questionable things, right? I think he could have still been an all-star past his meniscus tear. It's just that he would have been more so of that penetrator / playmaker role instead of him being that scoring role, right? And I think it's just in his nature to be that scoring guard, and it's hard for him to adjust quickly after being such a top tier talent in the league, right? So yeah, I don't necessarily blame him. Like I'm not blaming him for any decision he made. I'm aware of what was kind of happening with him. Is a changing way I start shooting more control of the time. Yeah, as you said, box 100%. And here's the thing, like I do think that we started to see a little bit more of it. Like we started to see Derek kind of run that pick and roll a little bit more and kind of navigate the defense, and kind of intake everything and make decisions off of it. I do think that we started to see that a little bit, but it just in his nature though, it's always score first, right? And that's the part where it's like it's hard for him to adjust quickly, right? You go from a 25 point per game scorer to then suddenly you're not that anymore. Hard, right? And I don't really blame him. Now that we let go on grow, I'm fully expecting the front office to bring another 6'4", 6'5" guy that can't shoot. I also expect that box, but we'll see. So if you weren't here earlier, which I don't think you were, box, so I brought up some people. Nerlens Noel is the guy that I would like, but I don't think he's coming here because we don't have a role for him. Juancho Hernan-Gomez, I would also like another guy. I don't think he has a role here, so he probably isn't coming here. I brought up Stanley Johnson. I do think that's more of a possibility, right? Because he doesn't really have a spot anywhere right now, so he might be willing just to come on this Bulls team just for the contract. And I would like him back. I then also brought up this. I do think that Carlik Jones has had a phenomenal season in the G League, and I wouldn't be mad if the Bulls just give him an NBA contract now and then go and get another two-way contract after they sign Carlik Jones to the NBA contract. It might help the Bulls keep him. I also think that the Bulls could potentially sign him to a 2-year contract, right? So that he'll be under contract for next season. Because I know for a fact that Carlik Jones is going to be on an NBA team next season. So I like to keep him. We'll see if that happens though. But I just something to keep in mind when it comes to who the Bulls could use that 15th spot for. Lonzo really isn't part of the core anymore. Yeah, I agree. Also, Clippers have had a good chance to make it to the finals. Kawhi's started to hit the switch. It's scary that he's still that good after the injury. So yeah, I think Kawhi has hit the switch. My issue right now is that I don't think Paul George has looked that good. I think Paul George has had some very bad moments recently. And I just question, like, because he's averaging like 23 or 24 right now. So like, it's not like he's awful. It's just that I just question, can he be that effective dude that can ball handle and be that second scorer that I feel like is, you know, also being that playmaker for that Clippers team? Because I know they got Westbrook, but they need Paul George to be that secondary ball handler. And I don't know if he's really done that this year, but for sure that Clippers team is definitely scary against any West team, right? I do think that the Clippers against, you know, any team they have a pretty decent chance. But yeah, it's gonna come down to the role players, I feel like, for the Clippers. You know, the Marcus Morrises of the world and the Zubac's, and then they just got Mason Plumlee, which I thought was a fantastic deal for them. Yeah, we're gonna really see if the role players can step it up, but also can Paul George be that like secondary ball handler and playmaker? Because Kawhi Leonard, you know, is a scorer, right? Paul George has to be like that creator, right? And I don't know if he's really done that this year, but we'll see. The thing is, Derrick Rose could easily be a 10 assists per game player even during his scoring years. Players just couldn't hit the shots it was creating for them. Basketball IQ was an issue for him, contrary to Westbrook, for example. He was smart, he had vision, he understood spacing and movements that were happening on the court. Oh, I've said that I think Derrick Rose, if he never got injured, I think he would have averaged triple-double in today's game for 100%. Like, I think he would have pulled a Westbrook and averaged a triple-double. I stand by that to this day. I agree that his IQ was for sure a lot better than what Westbrook is, and, you know, his IQ is very solid for a point guard. I just think that he's still score-first mentality, right? Which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that's poor IQ. It's just that that's his mentality, which I feel like is the right thing. But after the injuries, he probably needed to switch that a little bit more. But yeah, nothing to really do about it. Ram thought, I think the Bucks will reach 20-game win streak and then the Warriors will break it. Possibly, yeah. I do think that the 20-game win streak is possible right now, but anything can happen in the NBA at this point. Hell, Damian Lillard could go for 71, or anybody could go for 71 and cut off the Bucks, but yeah, it's possible. Amount of bricks, Bogans, and Brewer laid being wide open in the corner, oof moments. Yeah, that was bad. Kawhi usually gets the next switch during playoffs. I imagine what they would look like with his current level of play. Oh, I'm aware that Kawhi Leonard, if he hits that switch or takes it up to that extra level in the playoffs, I think any West team should be very scared, because suddenly now I am looking at this West team that, like, are out West, that he might be the third best player in the Western Conference, right? Or sorry, fourth best player in the Western Conference, right? And he's on par with the Luka Doncic's, the Kevin Durant's, right? He may not be Jokic, but he's on par with some of these other guys out there. So for sure, it'd be very scary. But like I said, it comes down to the role players, right? For the Clippers, the role players have to show up and be consistent. Yeah. Well, PG's also hitting some kind of switch during playoffs. The way off switch. That is also my concern. I am going to say that Paul George has not been very good in the playoffs, right? The good old playoff P has been something that has been an issue. I do think, though, that Paul George has also had very good moments in the playoffs, right? His Indiana days were very good, right? And then it seems like his OKC and Clippers days have been very up and down in terms of playoff performances, right? So we don't know where we're going to get with Paul George. I don't think that necessarily cancels Kawhi out, as you're saying, Fox, but it would definitely hurt. Yeah. Can't wait for the playoffs. Oh yeah, I can't wait either, man. I'll have more time in the playoffs too, and I'm gonna be like, if the Bulls make the playoffs when I do streams, I'm gonna be dedicating time to talk about it. But yeah, I'll be really looking forward to the playoffs, and then I'll still probably be streaming, like probably after each round is over, and kind of talking to you guys. I think PJ has a stamina issue the last years. Check out how much slower his reactions and movements get as the game goes. So I think that injury that he suffered with Team USA, right, where he basically snapped his leg in half, I do think that has had an issue with it. It's had a big effect on him. Now, he had that MVP level season in OKC. Unfortunately, though, that same year, he had a torn labrum come playoff time. So it just, it just didn't work out. I do think, though, that his overall kind of footwork and his reaction times, as you said, they have been slower since that injury, right? And I have seen them decline as the years have gone on, right? So yeah, it's definitely something that I've been taking notice, and we have to be aware, guys. Like Paul George, like he's been in the league forever. Like it feels like he's been in the league forever, and he's getting up to that age now where I'm kind of like I'm a little bit concerned with him. I don't think he's gonna fall off a cliff. Like he'll be fine. It's just like I don't know if he's gonna be able to like consistently put up those 25 point per game performances. He's mostly just gonna become that like defender and like potentially like a 20 point per game scorer, so like a third option really on a team. He's had a really solid year. Like I'm not saying it's been bad, and like he's getting paid a max as he should, and he's done well. It's just that I don't know if you guys have seen recently, but some of these Clipper games with Paul George, like his decision making is not the greatest right now, and he's kind of putting up some bad games, right? But yeah, we'll see what we get come playoff time, because the other issue with him is that his injuries have been bad. Like last year, he was out with injury too. So if he keeps stacking up these injuries, it could definitely get worse with him. Yeah. This is the Paul due trimesters, no class during April or May. So we're on the quarter system, they call it. But I do have classes in April and May. I have class all the way through June, or not through June, but into June. We had a very extended winter break, so like I don't have class from November, like Thanksgiving through New Year's, right? That's my big break that I get. But no, I have spring break coming up here soon. But then I'm gonna have class from my third quarter, they call it, starts middle of March and then goes into June. But I'm just gonna have more time because it's for me, because I'm actually about to graduate soon. It's just easier classes. Yeah. Yeah, so I should have more time in the next quarter. It's just gonna be a little bit easier on me in terms of schedules. So yeah. DPG has to dedicate the ball handling and catch and shoot role during the playoffs. I agree. And also bring the defense. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at with Paul George. That's something that I consider with him, because like he could still be an all-star in that role, right? It's not like I'm saying he has to just suddenly stop being an all-star if he does that. Like he'll still be an all-star. But yeah, so I'm just kind of look at with him. He's also one of those guys that I feel like he could take more threes too. Like he's averaging 7 this year. He's averaged 8, and then that year in OKC where he was the MVP, he averaged close to 10. Right? That's something I want to see from him instead. Like instead of him relying a lot on his shot creation ability, let's have him be more of like the catch and shoot guy, right? And just have him strictly just focus on draining those threes, and because he's one of those guys that I know that you can run pin downs for him and he can score, right? So yeah, something to keep in mind. People saying we must trade tomorrow. I'm saying which contending your playoff team is actually going to give 28 mil worth of assets to get him. He ain't modern basketball material. He doesn't help any team as a starter, and a 28 mil contract for a player to come off the bench. Yikes! No one does it. He's gonna get Carmelo Anthony sooner or later. So yeah, Box, I 100% agree with you that it is suspect, right? I don't know if there's gonna be a team out there to be willing to trade assets for DeRozan. Hence why I was like, we need to trade him at this deadline, at the trade deadline, because I feel like he at least still has some value. But yeah, it will definitely be concerning moving forward because I don't know how much value he has left on a 1-year contract in the offseason, but yeah, I really don't know what the Bulls are going to be thinking. I do think that a team will be willing to at least give us a first-round pick, right? And maybe something else, but I don't know if we're going to really be getting that package that I thought we'd potentially get from like the Phoenix Suns that I drew up earlier, which would have been like 2 first-round picks, Cam Johnson and Landry Shamet, right? That I think is gone 100%, and because DeRozan has not played well recently, and he's injured, right? I don't. Yeah, his value continues to dip for sure. I mean, best offer he had besides her 28 mil was Emily, right? I don't think that's the case. So I hate when Bulls fans say like we didn't have to give DeMar DeRozan all this money, et cetera, et cetera. Like maybe we didn't have to give him 28 million, but everyone's saying, well, none of the other teams had cap space, so how are they going to get DeRozan? Well, the Bulls didn't have cap space either, and they got DeRozan, right? So like this whole argument that the other teams could not have gotten DeRozan unless he signed the mid-level exception, I think that's false. By the way, like I don't think that's the case. So, for example, the LA Clippers were interested in him. You trade Luke Kennard to the Spurs and someone else. Suddenly, that's like $20+ million right there. Sign and trade that. There you go. You got DeMar DeRozan on a $20 million contract going to the LA Clippers. Okay, so I don't necessarily think that he had Emily and Bulls, right? But I do think that maybe it was like $20 million versus $28 million, right? I won't be shocked if that was the case. But yeah, I don't think it was MLE only. There's a whole argument that no one else had cap space, so the Bulls got him, of course. Well, guess what? The Bulls didn't have cap space that offseason, so you don't have an argument. It's not like the Bulls had a ton of cap space and just used it on him. They signed and traded for him. So it's not as simple as people kind of think of, oh, MLE and $28 million. No, Bulls didn't have $20 million to spend. They just were able to sign and trade for him. Yeah. What I'm saying is no serious team was interested to dedicate more money to get him. That's why I believe I'm standing on that hill. He doesn't help spacing, he can't work off ball, he can't shoot. He doesn't defend to save his life. So that argument, I 100% agree with you on that. That is something that I do agree with you on that. But the money, I don't agree with. I don't think that the money argument of MLE versus 28 million is true. But that argument, I do agree with you 100%. For sure. Yeah. The reason why I was all right with DeRozan last year is because of how he put up a historical season, right? The dude was shooting lights out from mid-range that it was ridiculous what he was doing, right? That's only effective if you're shooting that high of a percentage from mid-range. This season, he's not shooting that high of a percentage, right? And you see that it's dipped his numbers, and he's not as effective. So, yeah. That season, last season, was definitely an anomaly, right? And something that should not be looked at as the consistent thing moving forward. So, and obviously we're seeing it this year. So, yeah. I do agree that his value right now is low. And I would hope that we could get something in return for him. Like, trading him for something is better than just letting him go for nothing, right? So, I would like to do that, but we'll see. I see you, Noel. When do we free up our money? Our money is freed up in 2024, right? We're projected to have $75 million in cap space. This is when DeRozan comes off the books. And this is with Zach, Lonzo, Alex Caruso, and Dalen Terry on the roster. Don't worry about Patrick Williams, okay? The Bulls can re-sign Patrick Williams over the cap. They have his bird rights, so he doesn't count, okay? So don't worry about this. Io's contract, I expect to be around $8 million. So instead of 75, this is gonna be, I'd say, close to like 68-ish, 67-ish, right? So still though, that's $67 million in cap space. And like I've said so many times, DeJounte Murray, Jaylen Brown, Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam, there's all these guys that year that are gonna be free agents, and they have to go through free agency. So yeah. I expect this year to be big for the Bulls if they're not going the rebuilding route. I mean, it's not like he is in his third year in the league. Like, that's like what? His second great season in his 14-year career, 2016, 17, and 2021 being two great seasons. What do you mean by that, Box? How much do you think we would offer Patrick based on his current projection of his career? I think it would be similar to what OG Anunoby got offered. So OG Anunoby through this was through 4 seasons with the Raptors. Okay, OG Anunoby. Oh, I should just let me just go to Spot Track. So OG Anunoby got like 16, 17, 18, and 19, right? So he's in his second year of his contract of $17 million, okay? I think that would be what we give P. Will, like around-ish there. And honestly, probably even a little bit lower than that because OG Anunoby had this like very solid like 4th year, right? Now he only played 43 games though, so who knows? But he did have a pretty solid 4th year, hence he got this deal. Oh wait, never mind. He signed this early. Never mind. No, don't listen to what I said. He signed this contract before then, so I don't know. Honestly, I actually don't know. Yeah, I expect around this ish, right? Around here. So maybe it's starting at 15 million, right? Okay, sorry. I was rereading what Box said. Now I get what you're saying now, Box. Yeah. So yeah, DeRozan had his second great season in his age 32 season, right? That's a problem because people are gonna be like, well, you've only put up 2 great seasons, and then you suddenly have a great season at age 32. That's not consistent. Yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying now, Box. Yeah. 12 to 14 mil is what he's going to get, I think. 14 to 16. So, to me, because he has started so much, he's going to get at least, in my opinion, $14 million. At the bare minimum, he's getting 14. Let's just get that out of the way. OG Anunoby, he signed this deal when he was doing this in his first 3 years, right? Now, it wasn't this year. Skip this year. It was this. He got this contract based off his first 3 seasons. Okay, so to me, because of that, right? Or never mind. Never mind. It's off his verse 4. Never mind. I'm reading this all wrong for some reason. Actually, never mind. Maybe it was off his first 3. I'm trying to put this in my head. Yeah, this was off his first 3 seasons. He got this contract off his first 3 seasons because then he signed this extension in his 4th season. Okay, there we go. So yeah, off his first 3 seasons, this is what OG Anunoby got. So just going off of that, right? P. Will, he played less games. He is now on the bench right now, but he has started a decent chunk, and his numbers are pretty similar. So to me, at the bare minimum, he's getting 14 to start. I would argue it's probably closer to 15 to 16, and then bird rights go up from there. How about Kobe? 10 mil? I think Kobe. We'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of teams that have cap space, but they're not going to spend it on Kobe. If Kobe White gets $10 million, I'm bringing him back. If he gets 15, though, I'm letting him go. There's no shot. So the gray area is then between the 10 to 15 range. I'd probably go up to 12 to 13 as I bring him back, but I'd have to be aware that I'm probably looking to trade him later down the line because bird rights then start kicking in. So then. Suddenly he's making close to 17 million at the end of that contract. So yeah, in a good old Bulls way, we probably lowball him. You mean Kobe? You mean I feel like if the Bulls lowball Kobe, they're doing things right because with Kobe, I don't really know what his value is. So I'm fine with the Bulls just letting him kind of figure out his market value, honestly. Because I truly don't know what it is right now. I don't know what sort of extension talks that they had before the season started. It clearly didn't go very far. And I don't expect the Bulls to be giving him a contract right off the start. I think they're going to give him the qualifying offer, which obviously you don't accept, and that just makes him a restricted free agent. And then you just kind of see how it works out from there. Because that's how restricted free agency goes. Like that's not abnormal, by the way. Like when we see the Bulls do that, they did it with Zach, they did it with Lowry, they're gonna probably do it with Kobe here. That's not abnormal. A lot of teams do that when it comes to restricted free agency. Like they'll just be like, okay, what's your market value, right? And then we'll just go off of that. I mean, Derek Jones Jr. is making $10 million at Portland. Well, he's making $3 million this year, so I don't think that really changes anything. Kobe shooting is inconsistent. That's the issue. He improved his defense this season, but it feels like he forgot to score. So yeah, my biggest issue with Kobe White is that, like, yeah, I see the defensive improvement, which, by the way, the numbers don't show that. So, like, yeah, the eye test says defensive improvement, but the numbers don't show that. Yeah, and then as you brought up with scoring, he's been inconsistent. So to me, the biggest thing is this: I think Kobe wants to try to see if he can go somewhere and be the starting shooting guard. I don't think he gets that role anywhere, even on a rebuilding team. I truly don't think that you can look around and like, okay, Houston, they got Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., and probably someone else through the draft in the next season. San Antonio Spurs, they're with all in on Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. Like, Kobe doesn't really have a spot there either. OKC has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and then we look out east. Detroit, maybe, but they have Kay Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, and they're not going to take minutes away from him. And then in Charlotte, because LaMelo Ball's out, maybe, but I don't really see that happening with Charlotte. I think they already have too many guards in the first place. So to me, Kobe doesn't really have a spot to go besides the bench, and that's the reason why I'm like, $10 million. Yeah, I can see it. So he only has 2 memory slots available, so in order to get defense, he had to remove scoring. Yeah, I'm not gonna say he's removed scoring. It has been inconsistent for sure. Yeah. So he's a really solid bench piece if he can get a grip on his shooting. Yeah, he could be a really solid bench piece on the right contract and him being more consistent. But that's two big variables that I don't know if he can figure that out, right? He could get paid a decent chunk of money this offseason, which then makes him not as valuable. And then if he can't become consistent, then suddenly like that just goes away. He's been pretty all right this season. I don't think he's been good, but he's been all right. So I would just hope that he continues along that path. He could easily do Jordan Clarkson role. Yeah, I can see that 100%, and that's obviously very valuable. It's just, again, though, there's a big stark difference between Jordan Clarkson and Kobe White, right? Like Jordan Clarkson this season, right? He's obviously started, but just let's look at last season, right? Because this season he's starting. Last season, 16 points per game. Then following season at 18. Now you're like, well, maybe more minutes. He played 26 minutes in this season, 27 minutes this season, and then we go back to Kobe, right? He's getting 22 minutes this season, so it's not like it's a drastic drop off. Like, yeah, it's a 5-minute per game difference, but then he's also only scoring 9 points per game. So that to me is my biggest issue, because Kobe has never even gotten close to those numbers when he was even starting, right? And this is like the only year, and then he was getting more minutes. So yeah, that's the only issue. Had a dream that Kobe will turn into our own Jamal Crawford. We had him, by the way, or Lou Williams. Yeah, I know we had Jamal, but it was only for one season. But yeah, we had Jamal. Yeah. Damn. Jordan Clarkson getting paid $10 million, kind of an underpay. Yeah, it's definitely an underpay. Like, I'm not afraid to say that. Let's see here. What was his previous contract? Yeah, so he's like 12 million-ish, and then this year it's 13. Yeah, to me that's an underpay for sure. Because like I can see Jordan Clarkson, even though he's coming off the bench, he can easily get like a $16 million, $60 million contract. Now, anything more than that to me would be too much for a guy coming off the bench. But because of how much value he brings, $15 million, I can see it. He plays starter minutes anyway. So yeah, stuff to kind of look forward to. We'll see what the Bulls do with P. Will and his contract, and then Kobe and his contract. I'm just gonna say right now, the Bulls are just gonna give Kobe the qualifying offer and let him test his value. So yeah, I won't be upset at that whatsoever. Now with Io, that's the one that I'm a little bit concerned about, because I do think that Io, you just give him a contract about $8 million per year just immediately for like 3 or 4 years, move on. I'd want them to do that personally, but that's not a guarantee either. We'll see, because he's also a restricted free agent. I just don't want that to become a bidding war with Io, because I think you can get him for cheap right now. Yeah. All right. It is time for me to end stream. Has Io really shown much this season? No. I feel like Io has been worse than his rookie year. So, hence, that's you lowball Io. Yeah, you lowball Io for sure. And I'd be totally fine with that because I think he's probably on his way for a bench role anyway. So yeah. All right, I do have to end the stream though. Thank you guys a lot for hanging out with me. Tough Bulls loss, but we move on. It's okay. The defense has been solid the past month and plus, and I'm not going to be upset about that. Or I guess the last 2 months, the Bulls defense has been really, really, really solid. So at least that's a step in the right direction. The offense just has to figure itself out. It's just so bad, and Billy Donovan won't do anything about it. But good talk tonight. We talked about a lot of stuff. But Bulls play tomorrow. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna stream tomorrow. I'm probably gonna take the day off tomorrow. But yeah, I'll see you guys then after the Bulls take on Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. But get some rest, guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll see you on the next one. Peace, y'all.